Can't forget that.
So we're on our way to Guadalajara, Mexico. I'm going to show you how easy it is to get across the border. So from San Diego,
We're taking Uber.
Guadalajara. It's in the state of Jalisco. Haven't been there in at least a year, but Luis, you've been there when?
And within the year.
It's one of the cities that we love to go to in Mexico, so we want to bring you along. The place that we like to fly out of is right from the Tijuana airport, and it is so much easier now. There's a bridge that basically connects the US side right to Tijuana airport. It is so cold here in San Diego lately. Can't wait to get down to Mexico because it's going to be about 80 degrees during the day.
Departures, salidas.
Once inside the CBX, you have to check in. So see these airlines behind me? We already paid online. That's the best thing to do. So you just basically have to get your ticket to be able to cross. And we're going to cross right over there. Now before in Mexico, they just let anybody in. Come and visit. You never had to fill out a form. Now they're doing that. You got to fill out this form. Nothing difficult.
I know, right?
Fuck that airport. Once you cross the bridge here, you're pretty much on Mexico's side. So I believe we're already in Tijuana. It's that easy. So 10 to 15 minutes. That's all it took. Crossing the bridge, and now we're in the Tijuana airport. We went through customs, we showed them our passport, and now we are here. Before we fly off, it's time for a little toast. Look at that, just like in America, some red cups. Salud. A nuestra viaje a México. Very windy right now here in Guadalajara. First thing we're gonna do here in the airport is get a SIM card. Well, at least Luis is gonna get a SIM card. He's back here in this place called Mobile Shop. I can't get one because my phone is locked.
So you got it. How much?
200 pesos.
Which is what? 200 pesos is about how much in cash?
Like $10.
Does that give you full access to everything?
I don't know, we'll find out.
We'll find out, right?
All right, 1607. Here we are.
So the flight from Tijuana to Guadalajara was 2 hours and 45 minutes. Volaris, it's kind of the Southwest airline of Mexico. Got here, got to the airport. Now we're here at a hotel called A Loft. And it is in the neighborhood known as Providencia. So there's the Friday evening traffic.
All right, we're walking around town looking for a place to eat, have some appetizers. Looks like that's a club. So here's a place, Pisones. Let's go grab some appetizers.
Seems like a pretty cool place, pretty packed, lots of people. So we're gonna start Friday night. Joining us for a night out is our friend Ivan. He works as a front desk manager at a local hotel.
And we just came across the street to this hot dog stand.
Here she is. We gotta have our hot dog with bacon right here.
Oh, y el mío sin queso.
It isn't cebollas?
This is yours, yeah.
No
Without-
onions.
without
Look at
onions.
that.
Canela?
Tomatoes and the mustard and the mayonesa. Really good.
It has cheese too. So good.
Fiesta Americana Hotel. Santander, a bank. It looks like there's a golf course over there. Well, this is a little cobblestone street here. This is rare. Oh, look, Bikram Yoga in Providencia. So we had wanted to go to this restaurant over here called La Casa de los Platos, the House of Plates. Well, we went on Yelp and it showed that it was closed now, so we decided not to go. And we're in our car getting ready to drive. Our friend was going to take us to another location. And we saw that there are people there, so it is open. In the middle is our friend Jorge. I met him at the school I attended to learn Spanish. He was learning English. He's now a doctor specializing in palliative medicine. So this is birria. I don't know in this case if this is chivo or vaca. I don't know.
No, creo que es chivo.
Chivo? So it's goat. Yep, that's so good. Sorry, it's already broken up. That's chilaquiles con birria, de birria. And that's the huevos motuleños. Wow, this is a beautiful place. It's like this was an old hacienda. Could you imagine how big this was inside? Where's everybody going? Oh, there's some performance over here. Majority of the people here in Guadalajara, really throughout Mexico, of course, are Catholics. And if you look all around the neighborhood, the city, you'll see churches everywhere. Grand churches. But there's no church more grand than this one right here. In every major city in Mexico, in Spain, or just about any place that's influenced by Spanish and Roman Catholic, there's only one of these, the cathedral.
Si vas y te fijas, te veremos.
While we're here in El Centro, I decided to get my shoes cleaned. See how it turns out. Been pretty dirty. So we'll see. Here's the before.
Much nicer, much nicer.
So we decided to stop at a cafe slash restaurant slash bar and have some Bloody Marys right in the plaza in front of the cathedral. That's a hamburguesa americana. And I'm having some soup, some chicken soup.
So there's our hotel. We went to another place, area. Now we're back, and what I love is after the club, everybody goes to these places. How are we gonna sleep? That's hot, man.
We wanted to show you what we're having. 3 tacos for what? How much? For like $2.
$2. You can't beat the price, and you really can't beat the taste. There's something about those street tacos in Mexico. They're so much tastier. Guadalajara is a city where I made a lot of fond memories, and I put it here in an album. Look at all these still photos. Have you seen these? Still photos in an album. This was back in 2005, so it's old. 2005 was a time of change in my life. I needed a break from the TV business. I quit my job as a weathercaster and a reporter, and I lived in Guadalajara for 6 months. It's the first time that I'd actually visited somewhere other than the border city of Tijuana, somewhere actually in interior Mexico. And it's a part of Mexico that, you know, we don't see in the mass media. And so this trip in 2005 was a completely different experience for me. It really opened my eyes to the beauty, the history, and the excitement that Guadalajara has to offer. During my first experience here by myself, I lived in an apartment in the colonia or neighborhood of Chapalita with a small family. Mom, Magdalena, and her son, Jonathan. Oh, and their pet squirrel, Mercedes. Yes, a pet squirrel. They kept Mercedes in her cage, but once a day, Magda would let Mercedes run free. Mercedes would run outside along the balcony, and believe it or not, when Magda would call her, she'd run right back. I had no idea you can actually train a squirrel. I felt like family around here, thanks to Magda and her son, and their friends in the apartment complex like Doña Ana and her grandkids. They welcomed me and made me feel at home here. The main reason for my trip was to practice my Spanish, so I found a language institute in downtown Guadalajara to take private lessons. Here you see my instructor, Octavio. He was a great teacher. People from all over the world came here to learn Spanish, and they also teach English to Mexican students there. This is where I met both Americans and Mexicans who became really good friends of mine. We'd spend our mornings in class, then spend our afternoons going to cafes or bars or taco shops and exploring the city. It was on my first trip to Guadalajara that I learned some of the best places to visit. First on my list is the Hospicio Cabañas. It's a World Heritage Site. It opened up in 1810 to care for disadvantaged people living in the city at the time when there was actually a lot of poverty. It was a workhouse, a hospital, and orphanage. Now there are a huge courtyard and gardens as well, which were sort of opened up to the sky, which was meant to sort of make it seem like, you know, you were in touch with the heavens and close to the heavens. Inside, you have to see the amazing murals on the walls and the high ceilings. There's a chapel-like dome that's decorated by the Man of Fire by Mexican painter Jose Clemente Orozco. Flames apparently represent the suffering and the grieving and even anger of the oppressed, especially once outsiders start to come in. Hospicio Cabañas later served as a base for Mexico's independence movement. So you see how historical and special this place is.
A trip to Guadalajara has to include a visit to one of the largest indoor markets in Latin America. Mercado Libertad, also known as San Juan de Dios. There are 3 floors of goods. The entire market has more than 2,800 vendors. In addition to these indoor markets, there are several open-air markets. When I first lived here, I used to go with my host mom to a huge one that was close to downtown every Sunday. That's where she'd buy fresh produce for our meals. Then we'd stop by at the home of one family that made fresh pozole or hominy, one of my favorite Mexican soups. Into arts and crafts, take a 20-minute bus ride to Tlaquepaque. Say it with me, Tlaquepaque. It's home to some of the best handicrafts and decorative arts in Mexico. Tonalá is well known for its ceramics, glass, and other native arts and crafts. Both towns hold their open-air markets at least once, even twice a week, so be sure to visit on those days. If you're looking for something different, something thrilling, visit the Panteón de Belén, also known as the Santa Paula Cemetery. It was built to meet the need for more burial spots for victims during epidemics, especially cholera. Many people have photo shoots here because of the historic architecture. A lot of people come here during Dia de los Muertos. If you're not afraid of the dark, go on a night tour of this historical cemetery, which is filled with myths about ghosts haunting the grounds over the years. A lot of high-profile residents are buried here. The cemetery was built initially with a section for the wealthy and for commoners. In a city with countless cars and busy streets, it's amazing to see everything slow down. Once a week, family and friends get out and stroll around the city. Many bike, some walk, others skateboard or inline skate.
We're from Denver, Colorado. Nothing like this.
It's just like a good way and also like a fun way to get out and just enjoy, just be with your family and just hang out and just something to do on a Sunday.
I'm from Denmark, and an event like this is pretty normal in Denmark and Scandinavia.
They're trying to do something to get the people to move, not just sit and watch TV.
You know what's amazing is that they don't just do this like once every 6 months or once a month. They do it every Sunday. Every Sunday they close down several blocks of major streets here in Guadalajara. Even from Germany, you don't see this often, right?
No, we don't have it like this. We have marathon tours or something like that, but just closing the road every Sunday, everybody's coming cycling. That's unique. Never saw this before.
You can stop and rest at many of the public parks along the way, which usually has a lot of activities going on. Or stop in at a cafe or restaurant to have some brunch.
Oh, look at that.
Or perhaps you'll find some friendly Mexican ladies making fresh churros on the street. There are places to see outside the city too. You can take a bus ride about an hour away to a small town called Teochitlan. Take a short hike up the mountain to the pre-Hispanic archaeological site, Los Guachimontones, home to a society that actually existed between 300 BC until perhaps 900 AD, roughly more than 2,000 years ago. The ancient ruins of this society were buried until they were unearthed in the late 1990s. Can you believe it took that long? These circular structures have multiple layers and staircases. Some people call these pyramids, others call them altars. The tallest one about 60 feet high. The structure was most likely the center for volador ceremonies, or the dance of the flyers, to honor the wind god. Small temples may have once surrounded the main circular structure. The pueblo name, Teochitlan, is said to mean a place dedicated to the divine, or place of the revered god, Tenoch. Just an hour south of Guadalajara is a charming pueblo called Chapala. It's on the north side of Lake Chapala, Mexico's largest freshwater lake, only about 10 to 13 feet in depth.
So they say that this lake has actually drier or lower, at a lower level than it used to be. I mean, you could kind of see evidence of that. You see all the grass right here.
Chapala has been a retirement destination for Americans and Canadians, really for the past 100 years. Some 30,000 retirees have moved here because of the beautiful weather that Chapala has for much of the year.
I had an hour to stroll the town, so I had to get one of my favorite alcoholic beverages. A little bit of ice, some rock salt, some tajin, which is a chili and lime seasoning, salsa tipo inglesa, or Worcestershire sauce. That sweet and sour goodness called chamoy, fresh squeezed lime juice, clamato, and finally some refreshing Mexican beer, Corona.
¿Cuánto es? 30.
Ahí está, una michelada. There it is, a michelada. Time for a little snack down the street to another vendor selling some fresh corn. I usually like my corn in a cup, but today I'm getting it straight on the cob, lathered with mayonnaise and a sprinkle of salt and tajin. Then it was off to a lakefront restaurant with a beautiful, peaceful garden for a full Mexican lunch.
I visited Chapala with a few other visitors from Mexico through a guided tour. Before we came here, we got a bonus tour of the private ranch of famous singer Vicente Fernandez. He's considered the king of Mexican ranchera music. He's sort of the Frank Sinatra of Mexico. His estate, just outside Guadalajara, is called Los Tres Potrillos, or Three Colts, named after his three sons. His estate is private, but sometimes they allow visitors to drop in, and we were lucky enough to get access to stroll through his front yard, where we saw his guitar-shaped swimming pool and got a chance to see his colts. Then we visited the stable filled with more horses. Afterwards, we stopped by a huge gift shop and store filled with everything that a cowboy or cowgirl would need and want. The quaint town of Tequila is yet another great trip outside Guadalajara. It's just under an hour to an hour and a half away. This is where tequila was born. We've gone there a few times. Twice we drove in a rental car, and another time we went with a private tour of about 6 to 8 people. It was then that we had a bonus tour of a nearby blue agave plantation. The blue agave is the base of all tequila. Each plant takes 7 to 14 years to mature. A well-trained jimador, or cultivator, knows when it's time to hack away at the bitter leaves to get to the heart of the plant. It's called a piña because it looks like a large pineapple.
We can get drunk. Ismael está preparando una hoja. Ahorita nos va a enseñar para qué sirve. He's going to show us what he
Kinda
made
like
with that leaf.
Pineapple, but it's not sweet.
The piñas, which weigh between 80 to 200 pounds, are then taken to nearby distilleries.
O un cóctel de bienvenida.
We took a tour of the Jose Cuervo distillery. It's a beautiful hacienda-style distillery. Here, we saw how the piñas are cooked in huge outdoor ovens for hours, I think even a few days. The heat converts the starches to sugars. Then the roasted core is crushed to release the sugary clear liquid. Now before all of this, locals used to ferment and drink the liquid from this plant, almost like a wine. The Spanish introduced distillation, which is all that you see here, and that's what turns that spirit into the tequila that we know today.
What are you guys doing?
Taking
pictures of our margarita or complimentary margarita.
Throughout Tequila, you'll see statues honoring los cimadores. They still harvest these plants entirely by hand, a skill they usually learn from their fathers. It's a tradition that has survived more than 400 years. If you're staying more than a week, you may want to continue heading west from Tequila to the coast and the popular beach destination, Puerto Vallarta. By car, it usually took us 4 to 4.5 hours. I have fond memories from several trips here.
I have since invited many of my friends to join me in Puerto Vallarta, and they have all had a great time, even if it's just for the weekend. And each time we've made new friends in Mexico.
Puerto Vallarta is really a trip in and of itself.
And because of that, I'll be sure to make a video just on Puerto Vallarta, and I'll be sure to let you know when that is ready. Guadalajara, it's an amazing city, isn't it? So much to see just right in the city and around the city. I highly recommend it. From LA, San Diego, Vegas, San Francisco, I think even Houston and Dallas. There's some inexpensive flights to go from there directly to Guadalajara, between $200 and $300 sometimes, so be sure to check it out. If you go there with an open mind, you will love it. It's a part of Mexico you've never seen. And if you know somebody who's going down there or maybe going to live down there, share this video with them so they can get an idea of what to expect. Thanks very much for tuning in. I'm running out of sunlight, so let me wrap up this video. Please give it a thumbs up and comment below as well. Let me know if you've been to some other parts, because I'd love to check it out. I always go there. And don't forget, subscribe, please. I'd love that. So until the next video, travel video, or any other videos here in my channel, please take care of yourself, and we'll see you in the next video.